Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Gunatito Aksharam Brahma Bhagavan Purushottamaha Jano Janannidam Satyam Muchyate Bhavabandhanat Om Bhagavate Shri Swami Narayanaya Namaha Om Shri Lakshmi Narayanaya Namaha Om Shri Krishna Narayanaya Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya Om Aim Reem Kleem Chamundaye Viche Sarvamangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Om Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mahakali Rupena Samsthita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samsthita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha Om Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mahasaraswati Rupena Samsthita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha Om Shri Guru Stotram Akhanda Mangalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwaraha Guru Reva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Okay, welcome to Daily Satsang. We are continuing our contemplation on what is the Atma and how to realize the Atma, what is needed to realize the Atma. So along those lines, we have been examining the verses, some of the verses of the Vivek Chudamani and the Pratyabhigna Hridayam, Bhagavad Gita and Vachanamrut, all connected together in different ways so that the realization can actually occur. Our intention is very practical, and it is practical in the sense that we can retune our mind, body, our relationships, our interaction with the world outside, and living our life as we are, to tune it in such a way that it resonates with the realization of the Atma. So along those lines, Adi Shankaracharya ji in verse number 6, Vivek Chudamani is making the following statement. And again, this is one of these statements that is a jam-packed, very powerful, and it's like an emphatic statement. So he says here, let erudite scholars quote all the scriptures. Let gods be invoked through sacrifices. Let elaborate rituals be performed. Let personal gods be propitiated. Yet without the realization of one's identity with the self, with the capital S, there shall be no liberation for the individual, not even in the lifetime of 100 Brahmas put together. Now, this is very powerful. What he's basically saying is that liberation occurs only and only when you realize that you are the Atma, you are one with the Brahman. See, the word here in Sanskrit is Atma, it's Atmaikya Bodhana Vina. That means that unless there is the bodh meaning it is an internal opening or internal teaching that comes. The teaching comes from inside. That is, so it's the atmaika bodhena vina. See, vimuktihi na siddhyati. It is not accomplished. So even in the lifetime of 100 Brahmas, one Brahmaji's lifetime is 100 years, his 1 second is our 660 years. Incredible time can go by, doing everything, sacrificing for the different deities, and performing rituals, and doing all kinds of things. You do all that, nothing wrong with any of it. But even after doing all that, one needs to realize that I am the Brahman, I am this reality that is the self, that Atma Bodh. There's a scripture called Atma Bodh. That means Bodh means that it is the awakening of the Guru that teaches you from everything from inside. See, we are wanting teachings from the outside. They're the beginning, as we're doing here. Some outside teachings are there. We listen to scriptures, whatever. whoever we listen to. But now the same truth, when we listen to the external words, the bodha comes from inside. This is one of the most important points in all of spirituality, that the actual teaching of God, the actual teaching of how to realize God, actual teaching of how to realize the Atma, what to do to realize the Atma, how to develop one's life, all of this comes from actually only one place, that is from within yourself. That is the bodha. But to get to that point where it starts coming from inside, where the Guru is active from the inside, to get to that point, the external satsang is needed. That's what we just looked at that last couple of days, the great importance of great sages, and touch their feet and listen to their talks, and all of those things are needed so that we can eventually get to that point where the mind is infused with Brahma Vidya. The infusion, when we are infused with Brahma Vidya, just like through our veins, blood is flowing through every vein, every artery, every capillary. Isn't it so right now? It's happening right now through all the sense organs, through eyes, ears, the brain, everywhere there's blood flowing through in the right way. Then we have this experience, beautiful experience of life. That's a physical substance, the blood. Similarly, when in our spiritual blood, when our spiritual blood is flowing with our mental energy, mental blood, quote, is flowing with the scriptural ideas and the teachings of the Guru, and one is holding and contemplating. In Vachanamrut, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he explained this as Dharvu and Vicharu. It's a satsang maje varta thai, dharvi and vicharu, meaning what? Whatever is being spoken by the great sages in the satsanga, hold and contemplate. Hold and contemplate. Again and again, again and again, again and again. By doing this, holding and contemplating, the truth will unravel itself. It will open naturally. And that is called Atma Bodh. That is called Aparoksh Anubhuti. These are Shankaracharyaji's scriptures. But they are scriptures that are written down to describe only this much, that the internal realization is opening. It by itself, it's opening. And it's only when that happens that liberation occurs. That is the realization of one's identity with the Brahman, with the self. All of these other things are fine. This is good for this world. Doing yoga, yagna, doing the different yagnas and different rituals and all that. Yes, by doing them, they also lead to this. But by simply doing them without the realization of the me, without contemplating on the higher ideas, then it becomes somewhat ritualistic. There's some fruit that is given from that, from if some effect is there, and then one is kind of revolving back into the same position where they started out with. It just goes in a circle. So we don't want to keep going in ritualistic circles. What we want is to keep progressing, using rituals if we want. Whatever the rituals may be, use them so that they can be a base, they can be a foundation, they can help us to live in the material world. And then when material world is properly set without any difficulty in the material world, which is what the Veda mantras are for as such, then Vedanta, the Vedantic truths can be contemplated on, where our mind is very, very equanimous, sthita prajna, where our life flows so harmoniously in every situation that we're in. All such qualities are going to come about. They need to be there for the atmaikya bodhena. Atmaikya bodhena means that you are the Atma, that oneness of the sense that you are the Atma, then not all the confusion, distortion. That sense, it is not simply a mental quality or emotional quality. It is a continuous moment to moment teaching and bodh meaning a continuous guidance is given from inside. It is guidance given from inside. That is called bodh. Atmaikya bodhena vina. Without that, vimuktihi na siddhyanti, na siddhyati, na siddhati. Vimuktihi na siddhati. Mukti will not be accomplished. वो मुक्ति की सिद्धि नहीं हो. Siddhi meaning it is accomplishment. You'll not realize that. So, now obviously, whenever we read something like this, the big question always comes about how to do this, how to do this, how to do this. So that's what the whole scripture Vivek Chudamani is about. And he's setting the foundation for this. If you go to the next verse, he says here, it is clear that liberation cannot be the results of good works. For Shruti itself declares that there is no hope for immortality by means of wealth. Meaning what? That just by saying that I'm just going to do good karma and that will lead me to liberation, that's not the case. So this is actually verse number 7. Okay, so this is verse number 7, and that is a translation that amrutatvasya na asha asti vichena. Meaning what? That you cannot get to that immortality, that amruta, just by performing good actions. Many people believe I'm a good person, I have good character, I have good values, this and that. I'm doing good things, giving some donations, I'm doing some good work here, they're not hurting anybody. I will get moksha. Wrong. That is not going to happen that way. You may do as many good things as you want, you'll still be in the sansar. Because doing all those good things is still part of Sattva Gun. And Sattva Gun is chain of gold. It's a golden chain. But Raja Gun is chain of silver. And Tamo Gun is chain of iron. They're all chains. The actual realization of the Brahma Tattva, Atma Tattva, and the Atma and the Brahma Tattva being one, it is beyond Sattva Gun, and it is not something that can be accomplished by just performing good works. Okay, well if that's the case, then how is it to be accomplished? So let's take it. So the next verse here, Adi Shankaracharya ji in verse number 8 is saying, therefore the learned seeker who is striving to gain this liberation and who has renounced all his desires for pleasures in the external objects should duly approach a good and generous master and must live attuned to the true significances of the words of the master. So the guidance he's giving here for those who are truly striving for liberation, that I want to be liberated. I want to be liberated from the sansar. I don't want to simply improve the sansar. You see, there's a big difference between trying to improve the world, which we try to do anyway, that's our seva. That's okay. As a karma yoga, nothing wrong. But that's different. But trying to improve the world is one thing. To actually go beyond the world and be liberated from the material world into the divinity, the Amrita Dhama, that is a whole different matter. Isn't it so? Think of it this way. If a person is in a massive prison, they can improve the prison, make it very comfortable, put hi-fi TVs in there, and the person will forget they're in a prison. Make luxurious beds, have all kinds of amenities, better than 5-star, 7-star hotels. Let's say you have a facility like that. That is like a heavenly facility, but it's a jail. You can't get out of it. You can try to make yourself more comfortable in that, that's all. But to get out of that and see the infinite reality within, to see the whole world outside that massive facility, is a whole different ballgame. Yes, we may be very comfortable in this world. Yes, we may have done good things and served people and all kinds of stuff like that. But liberation, as per what Shankaracharya ji is saying, is very clear. Look at the qualifications that are needed. First of all, the burning desire for liberation, mumukshutvam. Then, when he says, who has renounced all his desires for pleasures in the external objects, what does that mean? What is that renunciation? See, sanyasya bayartha. See, sanyasya meaning what? See, the word is sanyasta. Sanyasta bayartha. Sukha spruha sana. Meaning what? that one who is a sannyasi is not by clothes and all. It is an internal renunciation that occurs due to the realization of the limited experiences of Prakriti and to want to not be in the contracted state, as the Pratyavigna Hridayam is going to say. I don't want the limited life anymore. I mean, the limited life is there. We have a certain limitation. But to run after the sense objects like a blind and foolish person causes tremendous limitation. And that's a realization. It's not that you are reacting against the sansar. It's not that one is disliking the sansar. It's not that one is escaping from the sansar. No. That is not what the word sannyas means, or sannyasta. Bhayyartha Sukha Spruha. That means that the looking for pure joy in the world outside, there's an intense realization that that is not possible. You know, we say it all the time. Ye kya jagat mein kya sukh hai? Everybody says. I think the common Indian person, anybody, even the most illiterate person will say, ye sab maya hai, ye sab jagat mein kuch hai nahi. All these things are in the lips of thousands and thousands and thousands of people. But that doesn't mean anything at all. Unless there is a sannyasta from within. That there's a realization through clear vision that running after the sense objects and the experience of pleasure they provide is not itself ever going to be sufficient for the individual, because a person will demand more and more and more of that experience. In Vachanamrut, Garada number 11, the definition of vasana is given that whatever we have experienced before or yet to be experienced, we want it, and we want it again and again and again and again and again. So that's a realization. Now, again, why does vasana exist? Why do desires exist? We talked about that before. They exist because that is a way to express the causal body through Mool Prakriti, the causal body that is in Mool Prakriti. And from that expression, we are at least able to have the experience of pleasure. We have the experience of pleasure and pain through the external sense objects. The whole setup is there for only one purpose, to realize that we can go beyond them. We cannot go beyond the material world and the objects of the senses unless they are there. They have to be there to go beyond. If somebody says, I want to go beyond anger, that means anger has to be there first. If anger is not there at all, how you will go beyond it? Isn't it so? If somebody says that, I want to go beyond anger, but I don't know what is anger. I don't know, no experience of anger. So where is the issue of going beyond? If somebody says, I want to go beyond greed, beyond jealousy, beyond the pain of the world that is experienced. If I say that I want to go beyond that, how can I go beyond it unless it's there? There has to be some experience there to go beyond. Otherwise, there's no experience of any kind. Then there's nothing to go beyond, actually. This is a point written also by Gunatitanand Swami in Swami Nivato. He said that many times we say that all the doshas, they're just all harmful. But actually the doshas, the faults, the deficiencies, there's something to be important taken from them also. And what is that? That because they're there, we have the need for satsanga. Satsang ni garaj rahe. That's what he said in Gujarat. It's a long, nice sentence that is spoken in Swami Nivato. Very powerful things written by the sages. We can see their level of observation. See, unless the doshas are there, yes, of course we want to get rid of them. But the fact that they're there allows us to go into satsanga. Because of the pain experienced in the sansar, the thought will come that there must be something beyond all these terrible things that are going on in the sansar. Even the experience of pleasure comes with pain, comes with suffering. There's no experience of pleasure that doesn't have suffering already embedded within it. Meaning what? That suffering is when you take the pleasure even slightly beyond its certain range, the suffering begins. We know this from food. We know this every day. Sometimes we are eating a meal and we know that we have it enough. Our mind is already telling us that's enough. But our vasanas want more. Let's have one more helping of that strawberry shortcake. Let's have another apple pie. Let's have one more thing, one more this, one more that. Because our mind is going further. But when we overeat a little bit more, we are imbalanced. Then we suffer. So the material objects are to be experienced within a very specific range where there is no suffering. That's a master key. You experience, for example, if it's a cup of coffee. For example, I have a cup of coffee in my hand right now. Okay, I can drink some of the coffee and I can enjoy it, and it's fine. It's not going to cause any problems for me. I know that it's good for me actually. But if I saying that, I like it so much, I have to have 3 cups, and then every 2 hours I have to have another cup, and then I have to then put a mocha in there and put that cappuccino and put this, and you go to the Starbucks or anything, they have like 30 varieties of all these different coffees, and it's just they come up with new ones every year. So many lattes, and you just name it, right? What is all that thing? It is an expansion of the vasana. We're not criticizing anything. Please remember, Sachin is not criticizing anybody. This is the nature of the sansar. Because the sansar, the Mool Prakriti, the Mahamaya, she gives the opportunity for the jiva to experience the Mahamaya to a greater and greater level with the hope. Even God is hoping something for us. With the hope that this jiva will realize that you give that this is a limited thing, and you go towards the Atma and the Paramatma. Even that is also the reason why the Srishti is created, why the universe is created, because it is an expression of the divine power of God. Daivi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratya. But that in that expression, one realizes that this expression is occurring when there is the contact with the great sages, because of their incredible contemplation. This is what Shankaracharya ji is saying, that the learned seeker who is striving to gain this liberation, the striving to gain the liberation, approaches with great humility a generous master, a generous Satpurush. Why the word generous is used? See? Mahantam, this is the word. Santam, Mahantam. See this word, these 2 words? Good and generous. How beautiful. Sumupetya, having duly approached. See? Deshikam Tena. See? Very, very beautiful. The generosity, the large-heartedness of the gurus are shown here. They have an oceanic heart. The enlightened sages, and if we reach state of enlightenment, we will also have the same thing. It doesn't mean that we have to have 50 disciples running after us and saying, there's a big guru and this and that and tilaks and big ashram and but maybe those things are there, maybe they're not there. That is not the point. The point is the reality itself. To a heart that is extremely generous. Who is the most generous person in the world is a Sadguru. What are they giving us? Brahma Vidya. There is no greater Dan meaning, we can say donation, but there's no greater dissipation of the true wealth than the wealth of Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of the Supreme. Raja Vidya Rajaguyam. This is written in the Gita also. The great secrets of the Atma and the Paramatma, how to realize them. So to approach a Satpurush, a Guru who is such a Mahatma, Mahanatma, Mahatmam. See? And to approach at what point? First study the scriptures. First strive for liberation and ask Bhagavan for the right guru. And many times there are so many crazy gurus, they're not gurus actually. You cannot use the word guru. So you must know who to look for. So that has to come from inside. That's why Shankaracharya ji is saying the learned seeker, he's using that word. First of all, become a seeker and be a learned one. Don't run after anybody as a guru just blindly. Just because people are running after, I mentioned it before. No, you become learned first. You put your time in, put the efforts inside. And when the time comes, the Paramatma will lead to the right guru or the right kind of contact, the right, whatever we need. Yoga Kshema Vaham Viham. Bhagavan Sri Krishna has given a guarantee. He said, I will take care of your yoga and Kshema. I'll guide you in the right place. I'll take you to the right place. Based on who you are, what you need, all that kind of thing, it will happen automatically. You just be in the right modality of mind. And the right people will come into the life. Some will come, some will go. Some will come, some will go. But what you need from each person, each organization, let's say, each scripture, each guru, you will get that. And then through that, this development occurs. So it is a recognition of the generosity and the enlightenment of the Master. In Vachanamrut, Bhagavan Swaminarayan, he mentioned beautifully that when you approach such a being, your mind becomes still and silent. That is the indication of an enlightened being, rather than exposition of scriptures, rather than external paraphernalia. Exposition of scriptures is good. So many people can expound upon that. People can take one word from this Vivek Chudamani and speak for 100 years maybe. That doesn't mean that a person is enlightened. Could be, but does not necessarily. The criteria to recognize an enlightened being is not by how many people are following them and all that. It has to do with going near such a being, and the mind becomes completely steady, still, and you are able to perceive the extraordinary truths and reality within that individual that is manifesting in that individual. And that is what Shankaracharya ji is talking about here. That is why the spiritual guru is not interested in people worshipping him or her. Anybody who's trying to do that, that's a total ajnan. But nonetheless, many gurus have said, Tattvamasi, I am the infinite. That doesn't mean that there's an ego active there. They're just expressing the divinity, which we also can express. So the point here is that to approach such a master who is very generous and must live. Now, this is the most difficult part. This is what our mind does not ever want to do. To live attuned to the true significances of the words of the Master. Guru teaches. But there's a tuning. If I hear a talk from any great saint, how do I know if it's good for me or right for me? I have to listen to it, go into it, consider it, think over about it. Is it making sense to me? Is there some part of it that I don't agree with? All of that. And then if there are points in what the teacher is teaching, they really resonate. That resonance is the mental tuning, but beyond the mental tuning is living in that state that the guru is describing. They're describing it through their words, but they're describing it through their life. Bhagwan ke jo bade sant hote, they live the teaching. They're not simply talking about it. Talk is cheap. Anybody can talk about these things. But to live it is a whole different matter. And those who are living it they are the living manifestation of the Brahman. Whatever they're speaking is Brahman. Whatever they're seeing is Brahman. Whatever they're hearing is Brahman. See, there's a verse in the Gita. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. What does it mean? Every action is Brahman. Every action is done in a divine manner, through divinity. So to live attuned, see, the word is attuned. See, in the Sanskrit it is upa drishtartha samahitatma. See, samahitatma means what? It is incorporating within. This is actually, if you're following along, this is verse number 8 in Vivek Chudamani. The 8th verse in Vivek Chudamani, and you can see there are many commentaries on this. To live according to that. Samahitartha. Samahitatma. Excuse me. That is the beauty. What is the significance of the words? To recognize the significance, recognize the glory of what is being taught. And the word is upa. Upa means going near. Upadrishtartha. Drishtartha meaning being able to listen, perceive clearly what that master is teaching. Upadrishtartha samahitatma. The beneficial language that is spoken, that is spoken from the divinity itself. The divinity is speaking. Not that the guru with the I is speaking. That's different. See, when we talk, we generally speak with our I, but when the gurus are speaking, they're in connection with the ultimate truth. And that truth is speaking through them. Just like if you have a light bulb that is attached to a lamp, right? It's easy to understand. The electricity is manifesting through the light bulb. The different colors of the light, the different voltages of the light, etc. That is the attunement. That is the resonance. Okay, so we will continue this next time. I just want to make one or two more quick comments. That in connection to this verse, this is also written in the Bhagavad Gita. Tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Bhagavad Gita. Go to the enlightened sage and ask questions. Sri Krishna is saying, don't just follow blindly. Ask what you need to ask. And if we're in a group where we are on a common platform like we're attempting to do here, then we can ask each other questions. We can learn from each other. We can use the scriptures. We can use for guidance through the technology available. Many ways of doing this. Okay, that's one point. The other point is about this scripture, Pratyabhigna Hridayam. In the Pratyabhigna Hridayam, what is the connection with the masters over here? Well, there's two ways to think about it. That the Supreme Self is who you actually are, meaning what you are, the Akshara Brahma. They say the Akshara Brahma is the Supreme Self. So that is who you are. Okay. So if that is who you are, you just have to remember that is who you are. To recognize, oh, I am this, but I'm not this limitation. Oh my gosh, I'm actually the divinity. I'm actually the Atma. I'm actually Shiva. I'm actually the great soul. Wow. It's a re-recognition. Pratyabhigna means to re-recognize. First of all, there's recognition. To recognize that, oh, okay, wait a minute, this is who I am. And then to re-recognize, because we forget. So recognize again and again and again and again, oh, this is who I am. This is who I am. I am this free being. I am this unentangled being. I am this expansive being. I am this Brahman actually, infinite in reality. And I am a mukta, I am a liberated being in the service of God. All such ideas are not ideas anymore. They are the living truth inside. It is a big difference to simply give expositions on these things. It's another matter to internalize them. And without internalizing them, you know what they say? You hear from one ear, out the other. We don't hold on to. But when we hold on to these ideas, we recognize that the external world has been created so that we can go beyond it. It has not been created to be trapped in it. And this point is not understood many times. We say that why God created this world. He created the world so you can go beyond it. Because that is the nature of Maya. You're stuck inside dormant Maya. It has to express. Without the expression of Maya, how you will go beyond? Even if God takes you by force and puts you into the beyond Maya state, He's not going to do that because you are been in Maya. You want Maya. This is what you know. You have to freely let that go. You have to freely be in that state of realization that I want to now go beyond this. That is the whole point that Shankaracharya ji is saying here. Therefore, the learned seeker who is striving to gain this liberation, those qualities need to be present. The striving for it has to be there. If we don't strive for it, then there's no point behind it. Sometimes, you know what happens in life? We get something quick and fast and easy. We don't have any value of that. It happens with teenagers many times. You give them something of great value, and they just got it for free. They just got it without placing any effort. They don't give a second thought to it even. And the parents are thinking, what? How come my son, my daughter, whatever, has no concern, care? This is such a valuable thing. But because they got it without any understanding of its glory, its mahima, without having done anything for it, it becomes useless. It's just that they continue with their distorted life. This is the problem with most of humanity. We have extraordinary scriptures like this. But because the sages have given it openly to everyone, uska value hi nahi kuch. How much does Vivek Chudamani cost compared to, let's say, one of those Bollywood magazines or something? How much? I mean, whatever it is. I mean, if you look at the worldly track, the sense objects and the pleasures of the senses, these things cost money. How much Bhagavad Gita costs? Few rupees only. It's available for free. Everything is for free because it's openly available. Uska kuch value nahi inside the mind of the people. But it is timeless. Its value cannot be imagined even. That is the krupa. That is the generosity. That is the grace of the great sages. All right, we'll continue tomorrow. We want to stay on the timing here, so.